Nix is my dear friend. We like him a lot around here because he is the founder of Retso. If you have been to Retso, you know what an amazing event it is. If you have not been to Retso, you missed it, but it'll come around again next year, and this is your directive to register and be there. Retso is a nationally recognized real estate technology event that just finished its 7th year. And he's also the managing director of Becky Babcock's Path and Post. See, I can't talk anymore. It's the end of the day.
It's the end of the day.
It's the end of the day. Path and Post real estate team. Brad believes the best stories are experienced. Simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication, and doers are his favorite people in the world to be around. So he is going to give you a fantastic and incredible presentation on unique branding and relevant marketing. Take it away.
First lesson, lower expectations. So then you can exceed them, right? I'll give you an okay presentation. Maybe you can learn one thing, all right? We'll start with that. No, thank you. I think it's a tough act to follow. So last of the day, you guys just had a lot of shiny objects thrown at you, and then I get to talk about brand and marketing. Ooh, it's not tech. It's certainly not a shiny object, but I did hear it mentioned a few times today. You know, Nobu said it a couple times. Ben said it for sure a couple times. It depends on your brand strategy. It's based on however you want to build unique brand or relevant marketing. I think it's those two words that matter most because we're all branding and we're all marketing, whether it's good or not. It depends, right? But certainly I think the key is to be unique and relevant, right? Because we just learned all the same things and we're all competing in the same market. So if we all go out and execute everything we learned today, how's it going to be unique and how's it going to be relevant to your client? So that's what we're going to talk about today is how to take that and what is branding and how do you really build a system around something that can be unique, scalable, repeatable, and relevant. Why do we do this? As Mara kindly introduced, I am part of the Path and Post team, and we just believe this. You know, this is our mantra. This is why we do what we do. This is how we start everything we do. Every buyer consultation, every seller listing presentation, we start with why. Right, and it's on the screen. We lead with this. Okay, so in order for me to tell you why we did it this way and how we go about doing it, maybe some ideas for you to consider, let's talk about what's wrong. I hate to get up here and solve problems that you don't even know exist. All right, so what I did is went to Google, which we've learned to do today, right? Everything's text, so start with Google and just put in the words real estate. All right, and I'm a visual thinker, so I click the Images tab. This is what the first 24 results are. Okay, so when we talk about branding, what's wrong? The world, Google's indexes the world of images. This is what the world thinks of our industry. This is what the world thinks you do every day visually. All right, what is unique about that? How is that relevant to what that seller or buyer needs? All right, what comes to mind when you see this? This is a class participation portion. You can just shout it out. Right? Yeah. Cookie cutter, fake, yeah, stock, generic, right. So I was like, okay, that's great, but it's just houses, right? And it's, you know, people use these for marketing, but what if I add one more word to real estate? And I put agent. Is this going to be different? Wow, is this so much better? So this is what they think about you, right? Not about what you do, not about the properties you represent or how you can help them. This is what they think about you. The world's index thinks you're all the same, you're all fake, you're all cookie cutter, right? Is there one real picture of a real person even there? Maybe one or two snuck in there, right? So this is the problem our industry has. Like the world thinks we're generic, fake, cookie cutter, boring, stock footage. We're all trying to be the same thing to everybody. So what are we going to do about it? Well, let's go back 2,100 years ago, 100 BC. Cicero said this. Who knows who Cicero is? Famous Roman orator, philosopher, politician, lawyer. Like, this is nothing new I'm going to tell you today. He had this idea 2,000 years ago. Like, it's not about what we say and what we do, not the pictures we use, not how we dress. It's how we make people feel. And in order to understand how we want to make people feel, we must have empathy for what's going on in their life. What are they trying to accomplish when they go to your website? Are they trying to search for real estate? Or are they trying to find their home? Right? The difference between search and find is important to understand their context, right? So you must be in their head, not yours. If we're all in our heads, then we all look like fake suits that we saw a slide ago. And that's the problem that we're going to help solve. Because here's the real customer journey in life. Okay, it's no longer linear, right? It's no longer, you pick one channel, you advertise, and you convert in the bottom of a funnel. The customer journey looks like this. Where does your next lead start in this journey? It depends, right? It could be word of mouth. It may be on their phone. It may be a search they did. It may be a blog they read. It could be Facebook. It could be a video they watch. And then they're going to go and do something else. Like, it's going to be disjointed, interconnected. You have no idea where your next lead is coming from because it could come from anywhere. All right, so if this is the customer journey today, then how do you become relevant when they're doing all of this stuff, right? So Google's defined this as kind of a zero moment of truth. Raise your hand if you know the zero moment of truth. All right, the speakers know. All right. That's great, guys. All right, so the premise is this. There's a stimulus that causes someone to need to buy or sell a home. All right? And it's never for the hell of it. Okay? There's a meaningful life moment, life event happening in these people's lives. At Path and Post, we would say that they're not to go through a real estate transaction. They're about to go through a real estate transition. And the difference between transaction and transition is almost the difference between search and find that I mentioned earlier. Like, that's their life. Their life is about to transition from one place physically to another. And what does that mean? Why does that happen? Is it a death in the family or a new birth? Is it a new job or loss of job? Are they upsizing, they downsizing? Are they moving close to family or getting away from family? Like, all of those are big, emotional, weighted stuff. We all know that. We always talk about, real estate's the most important financial decision in your life, but it's also the most important emotional decision in your life. And that's what its brand matters, because you've got to connect emotionally to your clients. So once the stimulus happens, for whatever reason, it's all subject to change in context. There's a stimulus, right? And they say, I've got to start searching for my next house, right? So then there's this big moment of truth. Once they go to Google and search and find, oh, now we've got contact, right? So in historical sense, this would be like, I got to go buy some groceries, so you walk in the store and see what's on the shelf. That's the moment of truth, is your brand displayed on the shelf, and how do you interact with it from the old brand strategy world, right? So what's happened now is, after the first moment of truth, second moment of truth is actually the experience with the product, right? You take it home. Was it good? Did it taste like it said it would taste? Did it smell like it said it would smell? Did you deliver on the promise you said as you would as an agent? But there's a gap here in today's world, right? So regardless of how people get to that first moment of truth, when they pick up the phone and call you, that's the first moment of truth for you, really. Because otherwise, you don't know if that lead exists or not. Until you get an email from them, or you get a lead web form filled out, or you get them call you. They could have been to your website 15 times, and you have no idea. They could have seen your YouTube videos. They could have followed you on Facebook. You really don't know that they're interested in working with you. Right? So that first moment of truth is way away from the stimulus moment now. I think Nobu had on there's 10.4 sources of recommendations for third-party research before they make a decision now. Well, you may be one of those 10.4. You may be all of those 10.4. But that happens in this gap between stimulus and that first moment of truth. And Google calls this the zero moment of truth. Because no one, even if it's your best friend that you've known for 20 years, refers someone else that they've known for 20 years to use you as their realtor. They're like, man, I've known Mike forever. I trust him. You can't pick a better one. Call him. He'll take good care of you. What's the first thing that person's going to do now? Go Google Mike. I don't care how much they love me, trust me. They're like, fine, I'm going to Google him on my phone before I even get in the car. And they're going to see, what does Mike look like? Does Mike look like what Brad just said he looks like? That's where you have no idea still. This is the best kind of referral you can get. Past client telling them to their neighbor, man, they were awesome. They're still going to go Google you before they call you, before they fill out your web form. So that's this zero moment of truth where they're finding out about you, and you have no idea they exist. What does your brand say in that moment? What does your brand promise them? What does your brand make them feel? That's why brand and marketing matters. All right, because what's happening in here? They're researching. They're dreaming. You guys get that? They're checking out the 10.4 that Nobu said. So let's define brand before we get too far, because this zero moment of truth, I got this brand experience going on. Brand is not your logo. Okay? It's not. People are like, oh, I got brand figured out. I got a cool logo. That doesn't matter. Right? A brand is their promise that you're making to them. What are you promising? Is it unique from what your competition is promising? And are you meeting that expectation when they fill out that form, when they pick up that phone and call you? All right? So it's not your logo. It's certainly not your slogan. A couple of fun facts on logos and slogans, right? Phil Knight, guy who created Nike, he hates the word Nike. He hated his company name, right? It doesn't matter. He's made billions off of it, right? You don't have to find the coolest name in the world. He hated it. Starbucks doesn't even put his name on their cups anymore, right? But those are just visual identity systems based around their brand promise. And the reason that these two brands are most valuable in today's world is because they meet that promise every time a customer interacts with their brand. Shoe is quality made. Coffee is always consistent. You understand when you walk into one Starbucks, expect the same thing as if it was the one on the other side of the country. It's consistent. I know Simon Sinek. A couple others, right? All right, so I'm stealing this idea from him, right? Because I think Steve Jobs was right. You know, good artists copy and great artists steal. So I'm trying to be great. So I'm going to steal Simon Sinek's. And this, for those of you who don't know Simon Sinek, this is his idea of the golden circle. So his premise is this. Every company in the world understands what they do. Right? The truly good ones and the ones that differentiate and succeed better, they know how they do it differently. They call it their unique selling position. But the truly transcendent ones that last forever and change the world know why they do it. Okay? So we're going to try to start with why. We're going to use an example of how this is communicated in marketing messages and how creating a brand structure and starting with why and working your way out to the what can change the way the world feels about your brand. Here's an example of how Apple may do that. So if Apple communicated like all real estate agents in the world, it would sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Buy one? Hey, does that sound like a real estate agent? I've got a new listing. It's got a fenced backyard. It's two doors down from the local school. Interest rates are low. Want to buy? Like, that sounds like what we'd say, right? This is just how we market to the world, right? But that's not really how Apple markets. That's not how they leverage their brand to create feeling. This is actually how Apple communicates with the world. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Buy one. See the subtle difference? Difference between search and find, why and what? They started with why. All they did was take that golden circle and start with why. That's why they make computers. But you know what? They don't just make computers, do they? They make MP3 players. Right? They make tablets. They make phones. They make all kinds of things. It doesn't matter what they make at this point. The what is inconsequential. They could make some brand new product that the world doesn't even know existed tomorrow, and we'd run out and line up and buy it. And don't care what it is. We believe in why they do it, right? I mean, people would camp out for weeks to get one. I don't even know what it is yet. Because they start with why. So why don't we consider starting with why are you in this business? Right? Why do you do what you do for your clients? All right, so to think in branding in these kind of concentric circles of starting with why and going into how and then to what, let's work our way out. Really what's in the center of why is your vision. Okay? And vision doesn't mean like what you can see. Like this is where your company's going to go. where your brand's going to end up. You got to know that. What is your purpose in life, right? And from that, you're going to build out your purpose and values, and there's a whole bunch of brand strategy related to this. You've got to have a unique selling position, your onlyness statement, competitive advantage. You've got to target a specific audience, give them a specific value. I've heard the word value creation a few times today. What value do you create for your clients? They're different from the competition. This is the way we build our brand at Path and Post. We have a core brand document. Everything fits on one page. Everyone who works on the team absolutely knows it. We are anchored in our values. We wake up to deliver our purpose every day. We're out seeking lambs and tigers in our sense. Our audience, we know exactly the value we give them. We know how we're the only ones who do it this way, and we have a competitive advantage from it. It's scalable, it's repeatable, it's leading with why. But I know I only have a short period of time, so let's just kind of dive into really, I think, what matters most and where to start in this exercise is not with yourself. Too often this industry just looks down at our navels and thinks, how awesome should I be and am I? And let me tell that to the world. And I challenge you to do this. Find out who is your ideal customer and start with them. Create an experience designed around their life and their values and their goals. So how do you define your ideal audience? I heard a couple people say it today, like, oh, but was it you that was saying vegan dog fans, dog lovers in Chicago? That's someone who knows their audience, right? Well, so once they understand, this person eats a vegan lifestyle and they're into dogs, now I can communicate with them the way they want to be communicated with. I can create unique value for them in the world. So you don't have to be as precise as that, but you need to know exactly who you're trying to reach. And it's not to say, and here's the number one pushback I get every time I say, define your niche, get really focused on who your audience should be, is, well, what if my neighbor calls me and wants me to list their house? Then freaking list their house. Like, I don't mean don't ever work with anyone else. I mean, if you're going to spend time, money, energy, resources, marketing and advertising, communicating your brand to the world, make it targeted. Don't waste it on trying to be all things to all people, because you can't. It's impossible. So define where you're going to spend your money and resources. Define how you're going to write blog posts, right? Be really specific and create unique value for those people in life. And here's a couple exercises that we did on our team to get to it. Segment your customers, right? A lot of people by default start with demographics. I was talking to Brandy in the back. She works 24 to 40-year-olds in Chattanooga. She understands what their needs and goals are in life. She's one of them. She's been there. She likes working with those kind of people. So she just started like, that's my segment. Not that she can't help a 55-year-old, soon-to-be retiree. If they come knocking on her door, I bet she sells them a house. But she tries to reach the 24 to 40 because she knows what value she's designed in her service model is going to meet their goals and exceed their expectations. All right, so segment. And a couple ways to look at this, artists, readers, young socialites, high-energy executives, frugal soccer moms. Like, there's so many ways you can segment, right? So just start at the big area, pick a categorization. Sometimes demographics works, sometimes special interests work, sometimes combining them both together is where you can get the magic. But then once you've done that, go deeper, right? Personify this segment. So the vegan dog walker needs a name, right? It's Jenny, the vegan dog walker. Now she's a person, right? Now I know how to communicate with her, right? I know her sex now. I know her age. I want you to personify everything about your ideal client. Where does she work? What's her personality like? What are her core needs in life? Right? Does she need to be successful at work? Does she need to have a lot of friends? What is she really after? Right? And then how are you going to trigger her to engage with your brand? What are those triggering moments? What are those triggering opportunities? Really spend a lot of time. Because all of this technology we've learned today is great, but it doesn't matter if you don't know who you're trying to reach. All right, so spend some time working on this. Define your target audience. Really, all this is design thinking. All right, so this is the professor intellectual view of this. All we've done is create user-centered problem solving. Our users in the tech world, users are just whoever signed up for the app. Our users are actual people, right? They're clients, leads, who we got to stand face to face with at some point, all right? So start with this process. We need to understand them, apply some empathy to their situation in life. What are they trying to accomplish? Define the way they may want to interact with our brand, and then create new ideas. And this is where you just throw a bunch of things on a whiteboard. You take a piece of paper and it's like, man, what if I did this? What if I did that? What if we added this mix into our email follow-up program? What if I added this every time I called someone? What if I ran this kind of ad? This is where you just throw things up, and then you actually start prototyping and delivering. And in the modern world, you spend all of your time testing. You never have a business plan anymore. Everybody's like, well, how do you build a business? Start with a business plan, you write it, you submit it. Business plans are worthless today. The world changes too fast. Apple will have a new product out tomorrow that we're all waiting in line for. It changes everything we wrote in that business plan. So we start going to business models, and we start prototyping. And we test it, and we retest it, and we change it again. We send it to 5 people. 1 responded. We send it to 5 different people. 5 responded. We change it. And you keep getting better and better. Right? So you have this design thinking mindset, and it'll change the way you can deliver experiences to your ideal clients. And then hopefully they end up at the path home. And I think my time is up. Oh, I've got 2 minutes. I can answer any questions. I'm the managing director of Path and Post. I manage the team, the marketing, the technology, the direction, the brand. You don't have me. Sure. Right. Yeah, it's a marketing background. It's someone with marketing in their core. It can be in or outside of the industry. I've been in real estate for 17 years, but I spent 3 years in the banking industry. Ended up being the chief marketing officer for a regional bank. Man, it was good to get out of that. But but it doesn't matter the industry. The principles of branding and marketing apply to any industry if you have someone who understands them. You can hire a consultant, John, to come in and set and work with you to build a brand strategy. Okay, now here's the thing. You don't need someone on staff to design your brand strategy, but you need to have someone who's skilled at pulling it out of you because you can't outsource it. So you can hire a consultant who can help you define your brand, but you can't ask them to give you a brand. And that's a specific skill set. Your brand, John, is unique to you. It's anchored in your values of who you are and how you were raised and how you view the world. And someone needs to pull that out, put it into a systematic, followable, repeatable system that others can also execute. You probably need about 3 months of good work. And that's probably 3 to 5 meetings a week. Yeah. You can't. You've got to spend time. It's a lot of whiteboard sessions. It's a lot of hard work. Or you've got to spend a lot of time with yourself. Yep. A branding app. Well, one quick shortcut. Do I have time to give a quick shortcut? Is if you don't know where to start for your brand, then do these exercises right here. Nike defines their brand almost like an achiever archetype. So pick an archetype. I want to be the achieving brand, or I want to be the sensual brand, right? Very, very different Victoria's Secret versus Nike, right? So you can pick an archetype and say, this is who I am, just gut, and then start following and patterning after how they've built their brands, right? It's not rocket science here, The Nike achiever type, they communicate that their goal is to help customers achieve amazing physical acts and become better athletes, right? Whereas Secret's a little different. They make customers feel pure enjoyment through physical experiences of other types, right? But just pick an archetype. It's like, yeah, I want to be this. I want to be the explorer. I want to be the intellectual. I want to be the everyman. I want to be the nurturer. Think of big, adjective-style archetypes, and then start to develop around that. That help?
Great. Thank
Thanks.
you so much.
Let's go drink beer.
See, I told you it would be amazing.